cannot get over the fact that the Democratic National Committee is saying there will not be a debate to decide the nominee for president. Are you kidding me? Over an 80-year-old man who, if he lives, will be the oldest sitting president in the history of the country. And if he doesn't live, has a vice president whose approval rating is worse than his. This guy is obviously declining mental faculties. You're putting him up in front of a podium with flashcards telling him who to call on and what the questions are going to be. And you're telling us there's no debate? What about the will of the people?
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So I wanted to react to this James Van Der Beek video where he's talking about the DNC and the fact that they're not holding a debate with Joe Biden and the other candidates. And he's questioning why, quite rightly, questioning whether we can claim to have a democracy. You know, I know we're a constitutional republic and the Constitution, takes precedence, but, for the purposes of how they always cry about democracy every 5 minutes when it comes to J6, when it comes to not even being able to question the integrity of elections, even though they cried about Russia for how many years now. But, if you're conservative or Republican, you're not allowed to ask questions about elections. So they go on about democracy, virtual signaling and acting as if they're the party that is for the people and for the voices of the people. But yet they're not even giving the people the opportunity to hear the other candidates and their talking points and to challenge Joe Biden. So yeah, I want to react to his video. Now, when I heard that there was an actor, in Hollywood calling out the elite or calling out the Democratic Party, I was like, okay. When I clicked on the video, I was trying to figure out who is this actor? I didn't even recognize him. And I did watch Dawson's Creek growing up. And yeah, I didn't recognize the guy. But that aside, let's talk about, what he actually said. And apparently, he spoke a lot of truth. He spoke a lot of sense, especially by Hollywood's standards. So let's take a look. Now, when he posted the video, he said he was going to switch off the comments because he doesn't want to get into any debates because the people who should be debating are the Democratic Party's candidates.
And let's just not even the will of the people. What about the will of the people who voted for the guy last time? Because of those people, 72% think there ought to be a debate. Of the people who voted for Biden last election, 72% want a debate. So the DNC is openly ignoring, bypassing the will of the people. Why? That this was a democracy of the people, by the people, for the people. If we don't have a debate, this is not a democracy by the people. It's a democracy by them. For who? Big banks, big business, big tech, big pharma, big government, big whatever. I mean, what the hell? How is this a democracy? And how is anybody in the DNC right today going to post about thanking our troops and thanking the families who have made the ultimate sacrifice to preserve our democracy and our way of freedom? Now listen, I am grateful for them, but any member of the DNC who's going to think about posting that today, stop, think, and do your job before you start posting about how grateful you are. There are people out there who are willing to die to preserve democracy, because you are not preserving democracy right now. You're shoehorning your pick and forcing it on the rest of us. And don't tell me that the other candidates aren't serious, because one of them is polling at 7%. The other one is at 19%.
Yeah, Robert Kennedy Jr., when I heard that he was going to run, I was thinking, wow, he may very well save the credibility of the Democratic Party. I was actually excited to hear that someone like him was running. And I hear that he's, in 20% in the polls. So again, he's a credible candidate. And I would love to hear his talking points compared to Joe Biden's. I would love to hear him challenge Joe Biden's. And I think Robert Kennedy Jr., he appeals to the more moderate liberal, the more moderate Democrat, not the extremist far left Democrat that we see today, which represents the Democratic Party, in my opinion. I no longer consider, people who are extremists to be just that. I think they are just representative of the party in general now. So someone like Robert Kennedy Jr., he would have really brought that sanity back to the party, that credibility back to the party. And he would have attracted a lot of moderates. Well, he is attracting a lot of moderates. I mean, he might even attract a lot of independents that was leaning more to the right. I see him attracting those as well, libertarians who are leaning more to the right because of how crazy things have become in that party. But now we're not going to get to hear him debate Joe Biden. I mean, they keep telling us that Joe Biden doesn't have dementia. Those are just, that's just ageism to talk like that, or conspiracy theories. They keep telling us that. But why are they always hiding him? Why don't they let him speak? Why don't they let him debate, amongst the best of them? Is he not the leader of the free world?
That is a quarter of the vote who already thinks there's at the very least some debate about who ought to be president. There's no debate, there's no democracy. No primary, no legitimate president. So thank you to all the troops. Thank you to the families who have made the ultimate sacrifice to preserve our way of life, to preserve our democracy. Let's all do our part. We need a debate. How do we have a government? How do we have a democracy if we're letting a small little back room of people make all the important decisions for us? That's not a democracy.
He's absolutely correct. And this is what is happening. It is a small back room of people making the decisions for everybody, telling us what democracy is, telling us that we're going to do this and you're going to like it. That's where we're at now. And that's why people don't respect this administration. People don't trust this administration. They've shown what they're all about. They're going to do what they feel is right. They're not going to allow the people to vote according to what they want, according to the representation that they value. They're going to decide and tell us. They're going to tell us what information we should be exposed to. They're not going to allow us to get our own information, as we saw with suppressing information via Twitter and various social media platforms. They were exposed for that. That's not democracy. Just before elections, you're suppressing information. So, yeah, absolutely. And this is a party that loves to go on about democracy. But what sort of democracy are they all about?
And it doesn't work, because y'all have been wrong about a lot these last couple of years in that back room. No debate, no democracy. And I could be wrong. That's the thing. I could be wrong about all this. I could be wrong about the guy being fit for the job. I could be wrong about the other people being right, being legitimate, being crazy. You know what would solve that? A debate.
Yeah, let people make up their own minds. Let the candidates debate and let people make up their own minds about whether, Joe Biden is the best candidate.
Have a debate. Happy Memorial Day.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And this is somebody part of the Hollywood elite. Is he going to get cancelled? Is he going to continue to get jobs in Hollywood now that he said this? You know how it goes. So, I mean, I don't know what his political views are. I don't think he's I've never heard of him being a conservative. There are some celebrities that are open conservatives, very few. And I've never heard of him being one of them. But clearly he's somebody who is just a free-thinking American who's not going along with the mainstream rhetoric. It's good to see on either side people questioning things.
I never would have believed that Dawson Leary from Dawson's Creek back in the day would make more sense analyzing the Democrat state of the presidential nomination fight than anyone, Steve, on MSNBC or CNN combined. I watched this video and I was like, you know what? This guy deserves to be sitting on a panel analyzing everything that's going on right now. And what he nailed is, we're talking a lot about the battle on the Republican side. I saw where Chris Christie's expected to enter the race, and there's going to be a huge bevy of candidates attempting to get that Republican nomination. But look, you've got 20% of people supporting RFK Jr., 6, 7, 8% supporting Marianne Williamson. If anyone with a pulse entered the Democrat race right now, I think they would beat Joe Biden. And so you have to ask yourself, why in the world are Democrats so consistently trying to protect a dementia-riddled, incompetent who is the worst president of any of our lives. And I think James Van Der Beek nailed it.
Who knew he was a political strategist? He did great analysis. You're absolutely right.
What does Pacey think? What does Pacey think about the RNC race?
Yeah.
I mean, we got to figure that out now.
Good point.
Do they really think Joe Biden is the best person to take on, more than likely, Trump? The person's going to be Trump. Do they really think Joe Biden's the best person to take him on? Maybe because of what happened in the 2020 election, they believe that Joe Biden is a safe bet. So they're handpicking him to take on Trump, so they can have a repeat of 2020. Maybe that's what it is. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves, and God willing, I will see you in the next video.